Hello and welcome to day 2 of the virtual flower show, and we're here again to answer some questions. I'm Martin Fish and I've got with me a group here of exhibitors that you probably see at all the big shows around the UK. Unfortunately, they've not been there this summer because of what's been happening, but they've still been busy growing plants and hopefully we'll be back at the shows next year. But in the meantime, they're here this morning to answer questions for you. So we've got Lynn from Dibley's Nursery, we've got Alec from Primrose Hall Nursery, we've got Mark from Todd's Botanics, Vicky from Plant A Go Go, Steve from Hoyland Plant Centre, Rosie from Hardy's Cottage Plants, and Matt from Hampshire Carnivorous Plants. So we've got lots of expertise here. So we're going to crack on straight away and answer some questions. And we're going to start with Lynn, who is our houseplant specialist. And this one is on Streptocarpus. I think you know a little bit about Streptocarpus. Lynn, this one is from Tom, and he is growing them in his greenhouse, but he wants to know the best way to prevent vine weevils on the plants. He's had problems over the last few years when he's knocked them out the pot in spring because they've been wilting, there have been the grubs there. So basically he wants to know how he can try and prevent this happening this winter.
Well, basically, I mean, you can hunt for the vine weevil, the adults. They tend to come out at night time, so go out in the greenhouse with a torch and try and find them and capture them. The other thing you can do, there are nematodes, which you water onto the plants in early autumn and then again in the springtime. And these nematodes live on the grubs and kill them. So basically they get rid of them. But you're going to have to probably treat just, if you've got an infestation of vine weevil, more than just the greenhouse, it'll be possibly in containers outside and around the greenhouse as well, which you might not notice if they're bigger plants. So ideally treat containers outdoors as well with the nematodes to try and get rid of them.
Okay, right, because they're there all the time, aren't they? So it's something you've got to do little and often,
Yeah.
really, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, and they live outdoors quite happily in the UK as well. So yeah, they are around.
Okay, good luck with that. Tom, excuse me, I've just got to have a sip of tea. Right, okay, we've got a question for Mark. I do apologise. I think that tea's got a bone in it. Mark, we've had a question from somebody that's moving house. They've got a tree fern and it's been growing in the garden for 6 or 7 years, doing very well by the sound of it. They're going to move house and they want to take the tree fern with them. So they want to know how and when is the best time to move it, and also will it have a vigorous root system when they dig it up?
Okay, well, they can move it pretty much any time of the year. The spring would be better, but it will cope with being moved any time. Water it well and dig up some root ball. It will actually cope with almost no root system as long as you keep the trunk watered. It will have produced quite a good root system, but that's mainly for stability. It does work like capillary action. They're not like a traditional plant root, but yeah, moving it any time of the year is not really a problem at all.
Okay, and any aftercare when you've moved it, particularly, you know, does it need
just plenty of water, keep the trunk nice and moist, and obviously it'll need supporting staking when you plant it, replant it, because it hasn't got the same stability.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much for that one. We've got a question from Victoria. This one is for Alec. It's about peonies. And she's saying, why is my new peony got lots of brown edges on the leaves? She's been watering it, but it's still got brown edges. Any idea why that might be, Alec?
At this time of year, it could be a bit of scorch if it hasn't been watered as often as it might have liked, if it's in a container especially. It could also be a little bit of a fungal infection maybe, and that does happen sometimes at this time of the year. It's not particularly anything to worry about. The plant's going to die back down to the ground in the autumn anyway, September, October time, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. At which point you can just cut it back to the ground and burn or dispose of the foliage, but it shouldn't be detrimental.
We have had some extremes of weather, haven't we, this year? You know, we've had hot, dry, windy weather, and I think lots of plants have got all sorts of leaf disorders, which is caused by the weather. So do you think that's probably what it is? That's all, yeah?
More than likely, and it's quite common, particularly late July in the UK. It does tend to affect peonies across the whole country. We get all sorts of damage to foliage.
Okay, great. Thank you for that one. Steve, we've got a question here for you. This is from Peter about Clivias. And I know have you got the national collection of Clivias now, or you?
Yeah.
You have. Okay.
Well,
This one is a question. He wants to know why, again, the leaves are going brown, and also why they don't flower every year.
right, leaves going brown are a clear indication it's getting too much sun. In nature, the clivias grow on the forest floor in South Africa, so you must mimic nature. A shady window, or actually in your house where you traditionally grow ivies or ferns, is ideal for the clivias. What was the second part of the question? Oh, why don't they flower?
Why don't they flower every year?
Yeah, why don't they flower? Sort of memory loss there.
All right.
Two main reasons. If you keep clivias in your house, obviously they're not frost hardy, you must take them outside on a shady patio or under a shrub in the shade early September and give them a cold chill September, October. Bring them in before the frost, obviously, and that cold spell of a minimum of 8 weeks sets the bud in the rhizome for flowering the following spring. Now, keep them dry up, bring them back in before the frost, keep them on the drier side December, January, which is the resting period, and then early February, start watering once a week and keeping them moist, and you must feed them once a fortnight. The cold spell puts the bud in the base, the feed brings the flower out of the leaves, and it flowers reliably every year. If you don't feed a good general feed, they can flower in the centre where you can't see, or they'll miss flowering altogether.
Okay. So, tips there. Good luck with it. Hope you get flowers next spring on your lovely clivia. They are amazing plants. We've got a herbaceous question here for Rosie. This one is from David. It's about dividing perennials, and he's had conflicting advice on when is the best time to divide them. Some people are telling him to do it in the spring. Some people are telling him to do it in the summer. He's looking at things like phlox and asters, and he's got some dicentra and veronicastrum, so a range of herbaceous. So when would you advise him to do it, or does it not matter when he does it, Rosie?
There is a general rule. If the plants flower in the spring, you split them in the autumn. If they flower in the autumn, you split them in the spring. But then there also is the caveat to that. If you are in a garden that is a frost pocket or you're exceedingly wet, then I would just say leave all the splitting till the spring, because that way the plants are actively growing. You split them up, they'll go into the ground will be warmer, and they'll get away far better. So yeah, I mean, that's the basic general. Early flowering, late season splitting, late season flowering, early season splitting. So the opposite end of the year to when they flower is when you split.
Okay, yep, good advice there. That's great. Matt, I've got a question for you on Sarracenia. This is from John. He's got one that he's had, he bought it at a show. He's had it in the same pot that he bought it in now for 4 years. And he thinks it's just starting to look a little bit strangled and needs a bit more room. So he wants to know really when is the best time to repot it, and what compost should he use?
If it's pushing against the outside of the pot, then really do want to move it on, just pot it on. What I mean by that is take it out of its pot gently, keep the root ball intact, and just put it into a slightly larger pot, plastic preferably, and incorporate the compost around the outside of the plant. So you're just potting it on gently. You could leave it in that same pot and strip all the compost back next spring. As far as compost is concerned, we still use peat and perlite 50-50 mix. There isn't anything as good as that available at the moment. If you use any of the wood-based compost, the Sarracenias stand in water, and wood by its nature turns to mud in about 6 months when standing in water. So at the moment, peat and perlite is the best mix of them. And if he's near us, he should pop down to the open weekend. We're open today from 10 till 4. We've got a huge range of plants and compost available.
Okay, and you're of course in Hampshire.
We are, yep.
Okay, yep. I'm sure details will be on your website about that.
On the website there, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, Matt, for that. Right, Vicky, we've got a question for you next on your specialist, which is heucheras and tyrellas and heucherellas. This one is from Jo, and she's saying she loves tyrellas. She loves the leaves, but also the flowers that are so pretty. She wants to know if she can plant them under a hedge where it's quite dry and shady.
Oh, under a hedge is a great place to plant them. Shady, they have to have shade. They can have light shade or dark shade. There's two things you have to watch out when you're planting them under a hedge though. One is that it's not dry all the time. So if it is dry all the time, you've got to give them some water periodically. They don't need drowning, they just need a drop of water. You know, when you can see they just need a drop, just remember they're there and go and have a look at them. And the other thing is make sure that your hedge doesn't come right over the top of them and sort of smother them, because if it does, they sort of disappear. And then when you cut the hedge back, sometimes you go, oh, hang on, look what was under here. But they don't look great when they're smothered. So they do need a little bit of ground around them that they can actually grow and flower. A bit of light, even though shady.
Okay, and any particular favourite varieties that you can recommend to plant? I mean, I know there's lots, but anything that is a really good tried and tested one.
I've got loads, really, as you say. But obviously, we've actually got an offer on the on the virtual flower show at the minute of a trio, which is 3 that we've bred: Angel Wings, Emerald Ellie, and Raspberry Sunday, and they're all gorgeous and they all repeat flower as well. And very hardy, of course.
They sound amazing. So have a go with those under your hedge, get them established, and I'm sure they'll be brilliant for years. We're going to take a short break and we'll be back with you with more questions in just a short while. See you then.